Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
Hey everybody, how we doing today? Welcome to another edition of the Lead Pedal Podcast. This is episode number 1183, and we're going to talk about the business of trucking. We've been talking about business all month, but we're going to talk about, should you even get into it? Ugh, that sounds like a scary subject right there. Well, I tell you, a lot of people think you shouldn't, a lot of people think you should, and a lot of people are telling you it's changed. We're going to kind of go through and let you know what some of the big people are saying. It's going to be a bit different for everybody here, but before we do that, let me tell you about some of the carriers we got on here. We got Rims Transport on. Now, Rims Transport is one of our sponsors. They're a flatbed owner-operator company based out of Hamilton, Ontario. They have flatbed operations. They haul steel. They have end dump. They have bulk tanker, and they're an owner-operator fleet, and they run about 500 miles based out of Hamilton, Ontario. So if that's for you, something that you're looking forward to, looking for a company with a good culture, then give Rims a try. RimsTransport.com is where I would send you. All right, let's start off with the basic economy. The basic economy for basically the U.S. and Canada. And North America, we're tied together so much. Freight is slow. Guys are saying it's slow. Everybody's saying it's slow. And we left 2023 with things being very slow. In fact, it was a rough time. They're saying that the four things that really caused problems, spot rates dropped. Okay, so the spot market, so there's a contract market and a spot market when it comes to freight. Contract is when someone has a contract with a shipper to haul their stuff on a regular basis. They're going to supply so many trucks every week and haul wherever, and it's all worked out ahead of time, and they're in it for a year. Spot market is when people are kind of pulling loads here and there, and they're just finding them, and it's one-off loads, and they're going here, they're going there, they're picking up a piece here, a piece there. There's kind of no, you can do it today and not do it again for 6 months from the same shipper. You're working kind of for everybody. Load boards would fall into this, dispatchers, all kinds of stuff have fallen into that. That's the spot market. The spot market went down by 30 or 40% in 2023, and a lot of people who'd got in buying trucks at high rates of interest were in trouble when that happened, especially if that was their main source of income, because it dried up pretty quickly. We're going to talk about who's in that as it is. So spot rates are down about 30 to 40%. And this is according to Fleet Owner in the States. And they say contracts have been beaten up because everybody is pushing the price down, and they're, hurting contracts. Like, we've got people who are undercutting, and this is we're going to talk a little bit about this. This is to do with Driver Inc. People have fleets where they're not paying their proper payroll taxes and stuff like that, so they're able to operate at a cheaper rate. So they're going in and they're undercutting contracts, and people who are doing things above board are not able to compete. And it's been a real problem in the industry for a number of years. We've known that. And now contracts are very, very, not only are they hard to get to begin with, but they're such a low rate that, people who've been doing this for a long time know exactly what they need to get in order to be profitable and run down the road. And, it's one thing to undercut to get work. It's another thing to undercut. If you think that's going to be sustainable, it's not going to be sustainable for you. If it's not sustainable for other companies, it's not going to be sustainable for you. So everybody has to kind of work together in that area. Interest rates have gone up. I mean, everything's gone up for everybody, but interest rates have gone up. So if you're purchasing equipment, and we know in the pandemic, it was hard to even get equipment. And now, you're purchasing it, or you're getting it later, and you're paying the bigger interest rate. That is what's down. And used truck prices are down, right? So it's hard to get used trucks. So they're saying that not one of these things will kill a company, but all four of them together could really kill some company. And it has. A lot of people have gone out of business over the last year or so. And big companies, small companies, and everybody in between. So they say this is hopefully going to improve in 2024, maybe around May or June. We'll have to see. I know I was at a truckload carriers presentation last November, and very informative, and they were saying that they thought maybe the third quarter of 2024 things might improve, but they're not really Not really sure. So a lot of people are not really sure. So they don't really know. So it's kind of a wait and see thing that things are going on here. There's still a lot of overcapacity for trucks and trailers, with some forecasting 1 to 1.5 GDP growth over the next year will feel like a recession. So we've kind of already been in a recession. So they say we're coming out of it. We'll see what happens later on in 2024. How many trucks are ordered over the next few months is what's pivotal to a lot of this, as far as it goes. Now, trucking always goes in cycles. There's always ebbs and flows to it, and that's how a lot of people are looking. So a lot of companies are not necessarily hiring, or they're being a lot choosier when they're hiring people because they don't really need a lot of people right now. Things are slow, and that's going to affect those of you that are trying to get a job. But people are still hiring. And, they say that half of the respondents said that expect truckload rates to fall in the first quarter of 2024, which is what we're in right now, while a third expect them to go up, and 17% expect them to remain the same. And so for less than truckloads, half of the respondents said they expect rates down in first quarter, and 33% said they would go up. 17% predicted they remain the same. So some people are optimistic and some people aren't. And that's basically what that's saying. And so they say there's also record inflation to contend with. The Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates to control inflation. Things are at 40-year high. And that's the way it is for everybody, right? Go buy a loaf of bread. Trust me, it's not the same price as it was a couple years ago. So what does that mean for you? If you're a new driver or a person as an owner-operator looking to get into this, should you? Maybe you're going, Bruce, I'm not sure I want to be an owner-operator. I can tell you one thing about business. There's never a right time to get in there. You'll either be in it or you'll be out of it. Sometimes it happens when you least expect it. So it's not like you can plan. If you can plan for it, even better. If you can kind of start things, or at least keep saving while you're doing something else, is the best way to do it. But that doesn't work for everybody, and it's not always means you're going to be successful or not. So one thing you have to really watch there. So if you are thinking of being an owner-operator, if you're a driver right now, what I would tell you, and again, this is my opinion only. Please, again, as disclaimer, always check with a lawyer, accountant, or even your own carrier, whoever you're with. This is just my opinion. But if I was stable where I was working right now, and I was thinking of becoming an owner-operator, I would probably wait. I would certainly wait until the end of 2024, see where things are, and then go. Not that I would stop planning it. I would get all the things that we've been talking about all month. I would start looking at those things, putting those in place, start investigating, start creating your business plan so you know what you're going to do. But I would certainly wait if you could. Now, if something's happened and you have to go and you're ready to go now, or an opportunity came up that's going to make you go now. Again, knowing where you're going to get your equipment, knowing where you're going to get your freight, all of that kind of stuff, and what kind of owner-operator you're going to be is all going to be important to know before you even get going anywhere. So you really need to have done your homework as far as being an owner-operator and being, being successful in that thing. There is no good time to start. There's no bad time to start. I think trucking will always be around, so I don't think you can say, there's no sense being an owner-operator because trucking's going away. It's not going away. You can always be an owner-operator, but if you've got to be a savvy owner-operator these days. Everybody wants to be in business, but business isn't easy. So you have to really think about, what kind of owner-operator you're going to be. Is this the right time? Are you with the right company? Are you hauling the right freight? Do you know how to get freight? I would spend my time educating myself right now if I wasn't an owner-operator already. I would start educating myself on what really is going to make someone successful, and do some homework and talk to people and that kind of thing to see where you really need to be, because that's going to make a difference as to how successful you are, for sure. We come back, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a little bit about the gig economy. Mike McCarron, you probably know Mike. He's quite talked about it as far as business management goes, and he's always talking about the gig economy. I have some real Uber's brought it up to. The gig economy has brought it up to the news level, and I got some real problems with that. But before we get into that, let's just take a little break here, right?
Okay, people, let's begin.
Did I tell you guys about Rosedale Transport? That's right. Rosedale Transport's based out of Mississauga. In fact, they got terminals all across North America. They've got some down in the States. They got about 15 terminals across Canada. They've got over 800 employees, and they've been around for over 50 years. And they are a solid transport company. And the cool thing is that they have a lot of options for everybody, whether it be local work, whether it be owner-operators, whether it be highway driving. They've got it all, and you don't have to move, right? You can start in one terminal, and if you need to, for some life reason, go to another terminal, they can accommodate that. So they're really a place that you should really think about and start with. And we've known them for a lot of years. They've been part of our podcast here for a number of years. I know the team there. I know that they want you to be successful, and the drivers are quite happy there doing what they do. So where do you go to find out more? Go to rosedale.group.com. If you go on their website, click on the careers tab, they'll tell you exactly what opportunities are available, and you can get started there. So go to rosedale.group.com. Tell them we sent you, will you? Because they're really great. All right, let's talk a little bit about the gig economy here, how to survive in the gig economy. This is from Mike McCarron. And as you know, this is always going to be a fun discussion when Mike's involved. Well, he's done this discussion many times over the years. He talks a lot about legacy carriers. He was somebody that was that owned a trucking company and sold it. And he talks a lot about the gig economy. And I got a bit of a problem with the gig economy because I don't think it should be called the gig economy. I think we're all in the gig economy. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. We are all, if you're self-employed looking for business, you are in the gig economy. And, you know, it's come to light through Uber and Lyft and Uber Eats and all of these guys that are waiting around and going, oh, I'm sitting for free and I only make $5 an hour. And what? Well, you know what? Get out of it. Get out of it. No one told you to go do that. You decided to do that on your own. You know, I'm not a fan of Uber. Uber comes in and they disrespect everybody's rules and they make their own rules, but they're big enough. They come in and they kind of bulge their way in. That's what they've done to almost every city. And I'm not saying the service isn't good. I'm just saying that, you know, they don't play above board until it's in their court. And now they're finding out that their drivers are not happy. Well, hey, you know what? Did you think they were going to be fair with you? It's like dating somebody who's cheated somebody else. You don't think they're going to be fair with you. They cheated on another person. Anyway, back to trucking, which is going to keep me out of trouble. You know, Mike talks a lot about the gig economy and legacy carriers and all that kind of stuff. And I've always, you know, he's saying it's, you know, a lot of people, it's time to start getting on with it. And we, you know, Driver Inc. we've been talking about, and Driver Inc. is not a business model. Okay. Just so you know, that's a kind of just an employment scam that's going on in the industry, and it's going on very big, but it is not one of your options as far as being an owner operator to be a Driver Inc. You cannot be your own driver service unless you work for many different carriers, and you are like a driver staffing service or something like that. That's different. But if you're just somebody who's working for an employer and they're paying you, but they want you to be incorporated and they're giving you the truck and giving you all that stuff, then you are not a owner operator. So as we discussed in previous episodes here this month, we talked about the different types of owner-operator, the leased owner-operator, the independent, and the lease-to-own owner-operator. None of those included Driver Inc. So Driver Inc. is part of where this gig economy comes from. And Mike is saying, this is out of his Truck News article, Mike is saying that he he says people are wanting more of that. They want the flexibility. They want to be an owner operator. They want to be able to take time off when they do. They want to decide which work is there, and that's why some of the legacy carriers are having trouble, because people are bouncing around and doing it here. And now the big carriers are starting to add this gig economy. They're going, well, you know what? We can't join them. So what does this mean for you? This is we've got a real issue, because in California last year they were talking about owner operators, and they were reclassifying what is an employee and what is an owner operator, and that's hurting a lot of people. And they say that actually is going to be that's a law that's coming in, a rule that the TCA is not happy about, and they're trying to just take this away in the industry about the owner-operator model changing. But Mike is saying that he thinks it's actually going to move forward. And he says a lot of people are kind of at this point. The problem is there's been no enforcement for the bad stuff. Right? We don't see any enforcement. It's not until a driver starts whining that they didn't get paid that somebody actually wakes up. And so people are going, okay, well, you know what? Everybody else is doing it. We're going to do it too. And this is not good, because carriers are going to have trouble with their drivers because they have to make sure they're paying their taxes. And it's pretty hard to challenge or follow up on what a driver is doing all the time. So carriers are starting to look at different perks like vacation pay, medical benefits, these things you don't have as a driver Inc. Right? So if you're going to be an owner operator, you need to decide, do you want to run under someone's authority or your own authority? I would still suggest running under somebody's authority unless you're over 10 years of experience in the industry. And even then, are you the kind of person that can get your own contracts and do all of that kind of stuff? But it's the industry is changing. The owner-operator model is changing, and it's something that you're going to have to think about as far as someone who's coming in. What kind of owner-operator are you going to be? And that's probably the biggest thing. So they say a lot of the independent carriers, drivers, if you don't set the record straight, will think that you're taking on tax dodgers and all of that kind of stuff. Companies are now starting to look at this, so you may see these opportunities out there, and you're going to have to decide for yourself whether that's something you want to work with or not work with, and how you're going to do that. And they're saying now that Mike's saying that they're even going to be creating gig focused fleets. So people are going to have fleets which are made up of everybody kind of doing their own thing and see when they're available. I don't know how well that's going to work. But they're starting to look at this and starting to see that loyalty is not something that's going to be strong in the industry. So do you want to work with a company who's all over the place, or do you want to work with somebody who's actually watching your back? And there's very few that are actually watching your back. That is something that you have to really think about. So the industry is changing as a whole from a big company standpoint to kind of smaller. We had this back in 1980 with deregulation, and it's now coming back again. So if you're an owner operator, I wouldn't be jumping into anything until you see how the layout's going to land here, because things are changing pretty quickly. If you're already in that process, then just make sure you've done your homework and you know who you're working with. And it may surprise you who you're working with if you haven't done your homework. So that was Mike's take on it here. There's a real the push, further pushes. Oh, I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'll tell you about some of the other pushes that are coming up in the industry. So stay with us. All right, so we're if I'm looking at just some of the top stuff, I'm not going to get into everybody's article here. Steven Laskowski with the OTA has been talking about some of the roads, investing in infrastructure. We heard that wonderful announcement by the Ford government of no tolls on Ontario highways except for the 407. And currently there are no tolls on the highways except for the 407. And there was no plan to put any tolls. Talk about creating your own program. Anyway, they're saying that they're going to be investing in Highway 413, and that's supposed to help us as far as taking trucks out. I don't know how much we are so far behind right now. Toronto's in a gridlock. Shout out to anybody that's going to be going downtown Toronto over the next few years. Good luck. They're supposed to be taking 3 more years to redo the Gardiner, so get ready for that if you're in Ontario here. Congestion is already a nightmare across Ontario. By the time they build these roads, we're looking at another 5-6 years down the road, and it's already almost too late. Like, they should have started this 10 years ago. So anyway, he's saying that more roads are going to be a good thing. That's from Steven Laskowski, head of the OTA. When I look at some of these other ones here, infrastructure, Greg Munden is saying there's a lot of things on trucking that they're doing a lot of surveys for safety. We've had a real problem with safety on the roadways, especially up north and out west. And there's apparently working on that. The OTA is working on all of that stuff too. Again, here we go with another survey, right? We have surveys upon surveys. It's a way of people not really actually getting anything done as far as I'm concerned. And then let's see, we got Bill Robinson here is talking about carrier and broker relations. And there's still a us versus them mentality in the world, especially in the workplace, and especially when it comes to brokers. And that we've seen it here in the U.S. They've started to cut down on load brokers and dispatchers and all that kind of stuff. So if you're thinking of getting into that business, you might be wrong. Anyway, those are just some of the things going on in business in general. Should you get into business? I always tell people they should get into business, but if you can wait, don't do it like the way I did it, where I just quit and went into business. Probably not the best plan. You should have a plan because you're smarter than I am. But yeah, you want to make sure that you have a good plan and you know exactly what you're going to be talking about and doing. And you know what, with the economy in kind of a flux right now, probably now is not the best time to make a move. But you know what, life doesn't always tell us to wait until the best time. Sometimes it tells us we just need to make that move. All right, well, listen, before I let you go, let me tell you a little bit about CAT Transport. CAT Transport's one of the best managed fleets for 2023. They're best fleets to drive for. They have lanes that go all the way from Laredo to Quebec, terminals all across the country. They're the best as far as green technology goes for their fleet. They're way ahead with natural gas trucks. They take owner-operators. They have a pet policy. They have tons of benefits for you as either a driver or an owner-operator. So check cat.ca. Tell them we sent you. If you click on their careers tab, you can see all the benefits to being part of their team. And I also want to tell you about the Trucking Network. If you're listening to this the day of, March 2nd is their next job fair, the Pearson Convention Centre in Brampton. March 2nd, 8 till 4 p.m. They give away cash prizes, so you might actually come and win while you're looking for a job. But at the best, there'll be a lot of carriers in the room, and you'll be able to go and talk to people and see about some of the jobs and maybe ask about some of those owner-operator questions we were just talking about. But however you do it, make sure if you're there, actually look for us. We'll be roaming around. So go to the Trucking Network events.ca to register, and you can get in free, and we will see you over at the event. Follow us. Hey, you always don't know what's going on in the Lead Pedal Podcast by following us on our socials at Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Join our fan club group, and we'll catch you later, my friends. Check out Lead Pedal Radio if you haven't. Go to leadpedalradio.com. That's our music and fun side of the industry. All right, we'll talk to you later, my friends. Be good out there, be safe, and we'll see you later.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com, and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.